Alright folks, I'm about to share some of the craziest news I've heard in a long time regarding Morgan Stanley. And once I share this information, I really want you to think about why they did this, and the timing especially. Check this out. Morgan Stanley transformed $29 trillion into gold demand. Suddenly or gradually, both. Then it says, dang, this is huge. Here's the foreword. Morgan Stanley recommends cutting bond holdings in half. Now trillions poised to flow into gold. This historic shift will unleash massive demand and accelerate gold's price surge for surpassing central bank gold purchases by 100 times. Next time you hear an analyst cite central bank gold purchases as some indicator of bullish sentiment, remember that ain't crap compared to this Morgan Stanley 60-20-20 call. Now, before we get into today's bombshell report, one must see these astounding metrics and scan through them many times to appreciate the magnitude. So they're going to go over some of these numbers and percentages. Now, I've always said this, the human brain cannot fathom how much bigger a trillion is than a billion. You can't really even fathom how much bigger a billion is than a million. We are talking about trillions of dollars. Now, before we jump into this very interesting news and what this means, and hopefully explaining more why they did this, first and foremost, thank you for tuning into your daily silver news. My name is Silver Slayer, and if you want the latest information of what's happening across the globe and how that affects the price of precious metals, make sure you click subscribe. And when you click the bell, click all notifications, or you won't always get notified. Also, real quick, folks, I wish I didn't have to, but I'm in the middle of a custody battle with my daughter, Zendaya. It's very messy. It's very hard right now for me. The legal fees are extremely high. I picked a good lawyer, not a cheap one, which I'm sure you don't blame me for doing, but it is expensive. I've already spent a lot of money on this, and it's looking like this is going to be a long process, so I'm realizing it's not realistic for me, and I'm gonna need some help. So if you could, I will post the GoFundMe link in the description. I hate asking, but when it comes to my daughter, I will go to any lengths, and I already see a couple people donated. I appreciate it so much, so much. If you can. If not, just pray for me. Like the video, comment, or share the donation, the GoFundMe link. Share it with friends or whoever. But yeah. Anyways, enough of that. Let's talk silver. The classic 60-40 portfolio refers to 60% equities and 40% bonds. Using the widely cited global bond market size of approximately $145 trillion, the 40% bond allocation in such a model would represent about $58 trillion in total bonds allocated globally. That is, I honestly, like, the human brain can't these are just numbers on a screen. We cannot fathom how big this is. We could try to get an idea, but I think the most important thing is realizing what this would do to the market of gold and silver as well. Silver is pegged to gold. So 60% equities, 40% bonds. 40% of 145 trillion is $58 trillion allocated to bonds in the traditional model. Crunching the numbers again and again. Methodology and calculations review. The classic 60-40 portfolio, 60% equities, 40% bonds, is measured against a total global bond market size of 145 trillion. 40% of 145 trillion yields $58 trillion allocated to bonds in the Morgan Stanley model. Under 60-20-20 equities, bonds, gold, Morgan Stanley model, the math follows. 20% of 145 trillion is $29 trillion to bonds, thus cutting the bond allocation in half. This, edited by Morgan Stanley, means sell less treasuries and take that money to buy gold. Later in the story, you will see that this is what China and the BRICS are doing too, but some of my lower functioning readers are not. The decrease from 58 trillion to 29 trillion halving of allocation. And he's talking about us, right? There's reasons for this stuff. Even like right here, you can see Goldman Sachs says gold prices could climb towards $5,000 an ounce if just 1% of the money U.S. households hold in treasuries were transferred into gold. And that same can work for silver. If even 1% of the gold market goes into silver, that would be astronomical because silver is a much, 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 much smaller market than gold is. So we are talking about, the most powerful countries, right? Saudi Arabia, 932,000 contracts of the SLV on the COMEX. You're talking about China right before the BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro mentioning silver. We're talking about India buying records amount of silver. We're talking about, every single country, Russia now adding silver to their central bank buying budget. Every single country, all the most powerful countries, the biggest banks, the most successful investors, right? Like Warren Buffett, Jim Rogers. You have David Bateman just bought $1 billion worth of silver. It's not ironic. Follow the money. Actions speak louder than words. Actions. They know something that the everyday person doesn't. Why would they do this if there wasn't a reason behind it? Why wouldn't we either? Morgan Stanley CIO new 60-20-20 model, the traditional bond allocation is halved, shrinking from 58 trillion, 40%, to 29 trillion, 20% of the $145 trillion global bond market. Morgan Stanley's new 60-20-20 portfolio halves this historic bond allocation, slashing it from 58 trillion to 29 trillion, transforming trillions of traditional bond demand into new gold buying power. That's massive. That's almost as much as the US debt. We're like $37 trillion in debt. Time to roll up the sleeves and wade in. Let's go somewhere between neck deep and to our eyeballs in today's editorial. Wall Street Engine on X. Goldman Sachs says gold prices could climb towards 5,000 if just 1% of the money U.S. households hold in treasuries were transformed into gold, which I do think is going to happen eventually as, gold and silver become more mainstream. And if gold hits 5,000, silver's right behind it, but also to a higher degree. So the day gold moved 10 times higher. On September 16, 2025, history was written in real time, a moment destined to mark the beginning of a profound transformation in global finance. On that day, a whopping 2.25 weeks ago, although seemingly like eternity, Morgan Stanley's chief investment officer, Mike Wilson, shattered decades of Wall Street orthodoxy by publicly declaring the death of the classic 60-40 portfolio. In its place, he unveiled a new blueprint: 60% equities, 20% bonds, and here's what shook the world: 20% gold. It wasn't the voice of a contrarian or a fringe analyst. This was Morgan Stanley. This was an institutional giant sending a clear signal to every investor. The rules have changed and gold is no longer relegated on the sidelines. Like the shot heard from around the financial world, this watershed pronouncement will echo for generations, remembered as the kickoff to gold's historic price explosion. Really think about this. The day everything changed. What if there was an event so enormous, so shocking, that it forever changed the financial landscape? Half the entire global bond market, worth over $145 trillion, is moving into gold, would be just that kind of event. But what does that shift really mean, and could it happen? Bonds sink, gold rises. Why it matters. Financial markets are built on stability, liquidity, and trust. For decades, bonds were the world's ultimate safe haven, an anchor against storms. But imagine institutions and nations rushing to trade their bonds for gold. What happens next? The shockwave effect, price implications. Even small shifts have outsized effects on the gold market. Goldman Sachs recently forecast that gold could rocket to $5,000 per ounce from inflows as small as 1% of the U.S. Treasury market. So what happens if we're talking about half the bond market moving into gold? Start at the top of this page. What would that do to markets, portfolio models, and investor psychology, especially that? Investor psychology. Why are they doing this? They know something. Should I be doing it too? Now let's take a boat over the Pacific Ocean and check out where the real game is being played. Yes, the Morgan Stanley decree sends gold soaring, but here's the other catalyst. Eric Young tweets, once people realize that global South countries' future survival depends on gold as collateral for their cross border commerce, they will understand that the dollar price appreciation of physical gold is inevitable. Necessity and survival are primary motivations. This is also the ultimate IQ test for the plebs out there. Yeah, I mean, I do think. Actually, I want to ask you a question. Comment down below. Do you also invest into gold or strictly silver or also platinum? Like, and if you do, like, do you have a ratio? Do you have any type of standard? Like every 100 ounces of silver, you'll accumulate an ounce of gold. How do like? Do you have any type of strategy from the gold to silver ratio? Are you trading your gold for silver right now? I always like hearing those types of strategies because this is a strategy. We're strategizing, right? So Shanghai Gold Exchange and their vaults in Beijing, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Saudi Arabia, and soon India, the way to break up the Uncle Sam and U.S. military. When gold is survival, not speculation. There's that S word. Central banks in the global south aren't chasing profits, they're buying monetary survival. Gold can't be frozen or devalued by outside powers. For many, gold isn't an investment, it's a life raft. If survival cures indifference to price, what does that mean for everyone else? The weaponized dollar unravels. Gold is now the new foundation for collateral. The dollar's role is collapsing, gradually, now suddenly, upending the very rules that global finance has played for the century. Panic bidding, gold at any cost. Buyers scramble for physical gold, pushing prices into uncharted territory. The scale mismatches are so vast, supply constraints will become critical, making gold acquired at any cost more than a slogan. It would be an everyday reality. And that's very, very, very similar to silver. I just think silver is going to happen a lot quicker. Are investors ready for a market where gold price is dictated by the desperation, not charts and models? And see, this is where we can talk about gold's potential and what gold has going for it compared to silver. Gold's would be more from this angle. Silver's would be more from the industrial critical role it plays in technology and why we need it and nothing can replace it. And, so they both have their places. And that's why I asked if you also invest in gold. They both have their places. Silver just has more opportunity to rise percentage-wise, but gold is still a great way to, preserve your wealth as the dollar is deflating. So here are their target prices. Silver by 1 year from today, $114.40. Gold by 1 year from today, $7,207. What do you think? Comment down below what you think gold's price will be 10 to 2026 and what silver's price will be 10 to 2026. Interesting, interesting to really think about that. Like thinking beyond just the next month or the next couple of months or by the end of the year. What would silver's price be in like 5 years? Think about in like 10 years. Think about 20 years. Like I'm 33 years old. Like if I ever sell, it's not going to be for another 20 plus years. So just think the dollar, I don't even know it would exist by then. It would be some type of digital currency, whatever. But just think the macro, think outside the box, step back and look at the bigger picture. A lot of times we get so caught up in the everyday prices, we lose track and forget that this is a long haul. We're long haulers, long-term preservation of wealth as the dollar not slowly, now quickly, is depreciating in purchasing power. But anyways, yeah, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This is crazy news. $29 trillion into gold demand from Morgan Stanley. That's a big number. Remember, the U.S. is $37 trillion in debt. I mean, wow. So yeah. Also, folks, once again, if you want to help my custody battle for my daughter, it's messy. It's messy, but I'm getting through it. Andy's helped me a lot, kind of like, be that father figure to me, kind of helping me get through it because it's hard. But hopefully, with this GoFundMe, I won't also have to stress about the paying my lawyer and the legal costs. That can kind of, I can focus on what's important because that's very expensive. He's $500 an hour. And this is going to take a long time. So just do the math. It's not realistic. I tried in the beginning, but looking at it, it's like I'm gonna need some help. So if you can, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Veterans, stick around. I have some news for you as well. Anyways, this was Silver Slayer. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace. From now on, every single month on the 31st, you have a chance to win silver, a continuous silver giveaway. Well, if you become a member of the Secret Silver Society on my Patreon, you have that opportunity. So every single month, you have something exciting to look forward to, which would be winning silver. On top of that, you'll have access to a live chat room with other silver stackers where you can post pictures and chat, just hang out with everyone, and have early access to my videos along with supporting me. If this is something you'd like to do, then come join my Patreon. It's patreon.com/silverslayer. Upon joining, you'll be given a monthly raffle ticket and instant access to that chat room. Go introduce yourself. Everyone is super nice, and it's more personal and intimate than a YouTube comment section. Folks, I'm so excited to announce that I've partnered with American medical experts whose purpose is helping veterans get the medical benefits that they truly deserve. Over 17 million veterans aren't receiving their full benefits, and if this is you or someone you know, then act now. American medical experts are offering free consultations through our med team to see how we can help. The med team offers board-certified doctors who have experience working with the VA, comprehensive medical evidence for services like mental health as well. Some of these include your Nexus letter, your DBQs, your TDIUs, your AAs, and more. I want to personally thank American medical experts for helping veterans, but also giving me an opportunity to help veterans as well. Click the link in the description or the pinned comment to get a free consultation through our med team. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless.